Well, let's get more of a perspective now on the state of the global energy. Rob Sobhani now joins us live. He is the founder and CEO of Sparo Corporation and has worked for decades in multinational energy groups. As always, Rob, thanks very much. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Let's start talking by dipping into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Now, on the surface, 1 million barrels a day sounds significant, but it really is a drop in the bucket. And using the past as a yardstick, the SRP provides a psychological bump for Americans. What will Biden's announcement do here?
Just what you said, John. It's going to provide a psychological bump, but the fundamental economics of oil demand and supply in America will remain the same. Either United States government will have to allow for more production of shale, of gas, and fast track those leases so that the producers can fast track and bring those gas to market, the oil to market. But more importantly, financial institutions also must be allowed to finance those projects.
Well, Rob, let's call it what it is. When you talk about shale, we're talking about fracking. Simple question, are consumers going to be feeling the crunch even with the SPR, the latest news on it?
I do believe that, yes, absolutely, there still will be a crunch, maybe not as high, because now that the president has allowed for the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to unleash 1 million barrels a day. But nonetheless, consumers, including those of us living in the Washington, D.C. area, will feel it, definitely.
Now, short of the end in fighting in Ukraine, what is it going to take to reduce prices? Is there anything on the horizon for Americans and other people around the globe to feel good about?
Well, I think there's two factors. To the extent that the Europeans take the lead on moving away from fossil fuels, which seems to be the case, and start investing in solar and electric vehicles, you will see a drop in the price of oil. After all, transportation sector accounts for 67% of every barrel of oil. So to the extent that the world shifts away from gasoline cars, diesel cars, this will have an impact. And of course, to the extent that the President of the United States can persuade Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates to produce more, that will also put downward pressure on prices as well.
I think Nathan also had a very good point, looking back to the Obama administration and most recently COP26, talking about finding these alternative fuels, but in the same breath asking oil-producing companies, OPEC nations, to do what they can to try and ease the suffering going on around the globe in terms of an oil supply. So how is OPEC reacting?
Well, I think while at the surface it seems like for OPEC, the decision is a supply-demand, but I feel that the underlying tensions relate to politics. The Saudis and the Emiratis are not happy with President Biden lifting the terrorist label from the Houthis, who are sending drones into Saudi, drones into UAE. They do not like the idea of the Iran nuclear deal. And I think if these two were not on the table, you would definitely see the Saudis and the UAE stepping up to the plate, increasing production significantly.
Rob, what about Russia's influence on OPEC? How significant is that?
Russia does have influence, but not as much. At the end of the day, decisions in Riyadh are made for the benefit of Saudi Arabia. Decisions in Abu Dhabi are made for the benefit of the UAE. I do not think that the Russians have that much influence over decisions in Riyadh and in UAE. They may have some influence in Tehran, though, because relations between Russia and Iran are very strong.
And we'll also have to see how the pact with the U.S. and other nations moves forward with Iran. But, you know, the U.S. is also dealing with its issues. But what about Europe? Russia is the third largest producer of oil globally, and Europe really depends on those fossil fuels.
So I was personally involved in the first deal that was signed during President Clinton that opened up, Sean, the Caspian region to the European markets. Today, oil and gas flows from the Caspian Basin, from Azerbaijan, into Europe, safe, uninterrupted. I think what the President Biden needs to do is invite the president of Azerbaijan, invite the president of Turkmenistan that has the world's fourth largest reserves of gas to the White House and start creating alternative supplies into Europe.
Our thanks to Rob Sobhani, founder and CEO at Sparo. Thanks very much for your insight.
Thank you.